All right, peace. It's Bronzebird here with another video. Before I begin, like and subscribe. Thank you. So it's come to register in my mind. Maybe it's just me. I've been peeping for like, I guess the last 2 years. This whole entire idea of trying to get specifically so-called black men to get out to to register to vote, to do the right thing, primarily trying to get so-called black men to still follow the whole entire democratic train, because the so-called black men in this period in time is starting to have a mind of his own and starting to realize, number one, the democratic race is not doing anything for him, and number two, what is voting actually doing for him and what is he getting out of it? And feeling like the so-called black woman is being placed over him when it comes to political decisions. So I found this so funny because it reminded me, and I'm pretty sure any old person who did a video on this knows exactly how I know. It would remind you of this. Remember the whole thing that happened in 2020, and the person who organized the ad was a so-called black woman. Um, and basically they wanted to institute this idea about get your booty to the polls and stuff like that, using sex in order to do it, which was featuring strippers and stuff like that. And because I guess Atlanta, Georgia in particular is known for having those strip clubs out there that a lot of celebrities, when they was getting put on, would send their music, music artists, rappers would send their music to in order to get put on and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I mean, it's so funny because I mean, it was a lot that featured in that campaign. You got the so-called black woman here who seems to be a little bit older, talking about get your booty to the pole. Then it was, it was women around, 20s and something like that. And then they featured a transgendered woman in that ad as well. But I just thought it was shameful to see that for sure. But I don't know what they was thinking when they put that out there. But now it's a new campaign that's coming along, right? And especially because there's this whole entire thing with trying to especially with the governor's race in Georgia with Stacey Abrams. They want more so-called black men to come to the forefront and vote for her, basically. A lot of this stuff, when people say get out and vote, they're mainly telling you they want you to vote for this person in an indirect way because they know they can't influence their ideas on who they want you to vote, who they would vote for. That's why they try to put it on you and say, hey, you need to vote. You need to vote. It's the same thing that happened with barely there Biden. The same thing that happened. They always say, oh, you need to vote, you need to vote, you need to vote. It's our election. We need to take it back. We all know that you guys were sitting up there talking about get this fool Donald Trump out of office. Go ahead and put Joe Biden in. That's all that joint was about. Anybody can tell me otherwise, I won't believe it. But getting back to the point, there's this new ad that came along that was, I guess, put together by an app, a dating app that's supposed to be for so-called black people, so-called black singles, And so they came out with this ad called "No Voting, No Vucking." I mean, the rabbit hole in this society gets so entertaining, my Lord. I don't get it. And I'm specifically, what I'm thinking is, what's going on in Georgia with what y'all trying to come up with? You're supposed to have these successful so-called black people who want to see a positive image of so-called black people, but you resort yourself to going back to nothing but raunchiness and just ratchetness all across the board to want to inspire so-called black people, more specifically so-called black men, to go vote. So I'm gonna play this video. Hopefully it doesn't get a copyright strike or whatever, but it is what it is. I'm here to just give my opinion of what I think, and then we'll go over and talk more about this whole entire no voting, no vucking thing. It's always about using sex. That's my first opinion, but let's watch this again, shall we? Fair use.
Trey checks, I think we got one.
It's voting season, bruh. No voting, no loving. No voting, no touching. No voting, no nothing. No voting, no fucking. No voting, no fucking. No voting, no loving. No voting, no touching. No voting, no nothing. No voting, no fucking. No voting, no fucking.
So hold on. I'm gonna pause the video a little bit. So they decided to bring a fluid man by the name of Saucy Santana, and the woman out of Florida who's known for talking about stripping music, her ass, and all this other stuff in order to convince specifically so-called black men to vote. In Georgia, Atlanta, the modern day so-called Sodom and Gomorrah place.
Okay, app looking for some action. Squad the homie Scott was hit. Face is a 9, abs a 10, D is a to be determined. He got mad jokes, he don't seem broke. The only red flag, he said he don't vote. This midterms for all the single cuties. Wanna hit this booty, gotta do your civic duty. No voting, no love. No voting, no touch. No voting, no nothing. No voting, no fucking, no voting, no fucking. No voting, no loving. No voting, no touch. No voting, no nothing.
Furthermore, was that supposed to allude to the new so-called black woman that's in the Supreme Court justice? I think.
No voting, no fucking, no voting, no fucking.
Don't stop now, stop my ballot box again. But my homegirl through, put the buy in partisan. Politics be so nasty. Make me wanna flirt, just show you how to be a poll worker. Legs in the air, I don't care. Anyone could get it, universal health care. If you wanna come before the deadline. Come on the jacuzzi, gerrymander this coochie.
No voting, no love, no voting, no touch. No voting, no nothing. Can't let me down, gotta stand up for something. No voting, no love, no voting, no touch. No voting, no nothing. BLK, we gon' stand up for something. Yeah, that's right. No voting, no love.
No voting.
If the coochie is the goal, go hit the pose.
So Black America, this is what we doing now. This is what we going with it. Like we're going ahead and using lust as a way to get so-called black men to vote and then conflate that with dating apps, right? Because what we should be gearing our problems on is dating, but not the things that's going on in this world, such as the war that's going on with Ukraine and Russia, in which Putin is threatening to go ahead and push for World War III, which is going to happen. The things that's happening around Europe, and then all this inflation, food shortages, and all this other stuff. So what we think about right now is, if you vote, you get to fuck. I mean, the dark culture has taken over the so-called black community in ways and ones, and especially brothers on YouTube. Brothers on YouTube would sit up there and say, "Oh, the black woman." No, nigga, you part of that shit too. And a lot of brothers out here need to understand that y'all are the problems when it comes to a lot of these different things that happen. It's both parties, so-called black women and so-called black men. And what I think about it is trying to entice so-called black men by saying, if you don't vote, then I'm going to weaponize my vaginas until you vote is the funniest thing I've ever seen. But let you tell it, that's probably going to be the future, especially if 2024 comes around, Lord. And they said that Joe Biden is supposed to be running again, apparently or allegedly. Yeah. So I'm going to show you exactly who's the culprit behind this whole entire stunt that I call it, that I find it funny. A lot of people don't know who the guy is. First of all, this was supposed to be advertised by the dating app Black, right? This is supposed to be what it's supposed to be about, right? But to show you exactly what this is really quickly, Black is the app that basically came around with this whole entire thing real quick. Let me just show you. You know what I mean? This is the Black app, dating for Black singles. I'm not going to go into it that much, but, you know, this is about advertising a dating app in this world right now when there's a lot more problems. But you'll also need to ask yourself, who is the culprit behind this? Who is directly responsible for going ahead and being one of the people who wanted to put this ad together? Jonathan Kirkland, that's him. Jonathan Kirkland is the one that's responsible for this. Jonathan Kirkland says right here in his LinkedIn profile, head of marketing in Black match, April 20th, 2020. And it says lead all marketing and brand activations for the Black dating and lifestyle app, the #1 dating app and lifestyle app made for Black singles. Responsibilities including developing marketing strategy across multiple verticals, including digital performance marketing, social media influence, media, and custom opportunities. And to be sure, this is quick data that anybody can find. This is actually on Google. Google does list him as the founder of the Black app. So information I just gave, you can look up on yourself and you will find the same information, right? But my reason of doing this is, why was the so-called black man behind this? Why did he decide to go ahead and make this an ad to entice so-called black men to vote by getting a reportedly fluid so-called black man who brags about his quote-unquote booty, and then getting Trina, who's been known in the industry to rap about sex all the time? Why was this the right choice to do? And in so-called black men, does this make you want to vote for somebody more, especially you live in Georgia with the governor's race going on that's supposed to happen in November? Or does it make you feel like, nah, we're not doing this and we want a better representation of ourselves and this is not the way of doing it? But I think later on, we should have more of a conversation about the so-called black man's mind when it comes to dating in general. I mean, when it comes to voting in general. So give your thoughts in the comment section. Peace.